Hi everyone, and welcome to your first lesson within the Professional Diploma in Web Design. My name is Kate Savage and I will be your course educator. I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the course and just tell you we're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to learn a lot. First up, we're going to have a fun fact, and today it is on average a user will have an opinion about your site in 50 milliseconds. Now that is not a lot of time, so we need to make great first impressions the second someone clicks on our site. The other thing is that 39% of users will leave your site if website's images load too slowly or fail to load at all. So that's when you get that little picture box and there's nothing there, and you generally will just leave the site. Some of you might be wondering, well, why am I going to listen to Kate about web design? Well, let's get to know me better. So as I said before, I'm Kate Savage. I'm an experienced college lecturer, and I'm going to be including a different quote in each one of my lessons. So for today, we're going to say no thief, however skillful, can rob one of knowledge, and that is why knowledge is the best and safest treasure to acquire. That's one great thing to keep in mind, but you're all already on track by signing up for this course. A little bit more about me. I've been a computer nerd since 2013. I graduated with 15 distinctions and some really great experiences. And I'm just here to share my passion for everything IT with all of you. My skills include web design, web development, programming, and sometimes a bit of karaoke, which hopefully none of you will ever have to see. I'd just quickly like to run through some how-tos if you're having any issues accessing your courses. The first suggestion I have is go ahead and download the app. If you do decide to download the app, remember you need to just allow your notifications, so if you're having a busy week, we can just remind you of your lessons. The next thing is you've got a very handy reminder that will count down hours, minutes, and seconds until your next course. And you guys are going to love this course so much, you're going to be watching that timer count down so that we can have another lesson. Your other option is you can join the live class or watch the recordings from the app. And then if you want to look at any other courses you're doing, you just go and click courses. Your other option is to go ahead and go online to showacademy.com, and there you'll just need to log in with your credentials. Then from there you'll go to the up and coming or upcoming, and there you can go and join a live class, or you can navigate onto the courses page where you will then see that under the lessons tab you can go and rearrange your class schedule. So within here you can restart the course entirely or change the date and time of your class. And your other option is to add it to your calendar. So if you're like me and your whole life revolves around a Google Calendar, this is a great way to keep track of everything. The next really amazing tool you have at your disposal is Morpheus. So what Morpheus is here to do is he answers questions that you might have during the live lessons. So he is an artificial intelligence, and if he can't by any chance answer your question will then be posted onto the class, and if they can't help you, they will be sent on to me, and I will reply to you as soon as humanly possible so that you can carry on learning and having some fun. Please do remember, if you do interact with Morpheus, let him know how you feel and give him a good 5-star rating, or if he hasn't performed the way you would have hoped, you can give him a lower score, and then we can work together to making him amazing so that we all benefit. As I'm sure all of you know, success requires effort and commitment, and we are here to make things as easy as possible for you to attend your lessons and to ultimately succeed. All you have to do is don't drop out. It's really that simple. You will see improvements on every single lesson that you do, and these will bring you closer to your goals. So let's look at our module breakdown. So you are all currently sitting on Module 1, and that is the basics of web design. This will take place over 4 weeks, and you will have 8 lessons. After Module 1, we move on to Module 2, which is your intermediate. and that again will be 4 weeks and 8 lessons. Then in Module 3, we'll be handling a lot more advanced features of website development. And in Module 4, I will be showing you features within WordPress as well. So this is really exciting stuff, and really all you need to know to become an amazing web designer. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the work that you all put together. So what do you get out of this? You will get a professional diploma in web design. You'll become a master web designer, like me. You'll get some very valuable design experience and some tips and tricks of the trade that I've picked up over the years. So what are we wanting to cover today? Well, today our lesson objectives include discovering HTML and CSS, learning the difference between a designer and a developer. I will be explaining the cloud and the internet to you, and we will create a basic website. And then last of all, we are going to insert images into the website that we build. The first thing we're going to talk about is websites and web application and what makes them different. Firstly, websites are informational. This means that the information that you're keeping there is not likely to change often. So it could be a business that's been around for many years that hasn't updated, or it could be based on fact or even history. Basically what we're saying is that websites are static, so the information is not being updated often. So there wouldn't be a big difference between 3 weeks from now or 3 years from now on that site. Another thing to consider is that user authentication is not needed to view informal websites. So you will not need to log in or provide any personal details in order to gain access to these sites. Now, web applications, on the other hand, are interactive. So your web applications would be things like Facebook, Instagram, whatever else you and your friends use as social media, and that is changing every second. I know with me, every time I go on Facebook, something new has happened, whether it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes later. So that makes them dynamic because everything is changing all the time. And here, often enough, you will get prompted to log in. So you can't just go ahead viewing things on Instagram and Facebook until you've logged in. So what does a web designer do? Well, a web designer uses HTML and CSS to structure and style websites. They're in charge of the overall look and feel of a website, and this is speaking to fonts, colors, and images. So they found the perfect combination to help pass along the message you are trying to send potential customers. And then they're also in charge of the overall experience and interface. So where does all of this happen? Well, it happens on the internet. So what is the internet? So the global internet consists of tens of thousands of interconnected networks, and these networks are run by service providers, individual companies, universities, and governments. And permission from a general authority is not required before content can be created. So today you could go and create a site for your own little business, and you're not going to struggle too much to get it online in terms of having to ask for permission. Next up is, what is the cloud? This seems to be taking over the industry at the moment, so I think it's quite important for us to cover this. So the cloud is a global network of servers, each with their own unique function. There's a vast network of remote servers around the globe which are all hooked together and meant to operate as a single ecosystem, or basically to work as a team. These servers either store and manage data, run applications, or deliver content or a service. And instead of accessing files and data from a local or personal computer, you're accessing them online from any internet-capable device. So my favorite thing about it is the information will be available anywhere you go, anytime you need it. I personally, before any big special occasion or holiday, will link up my photo album to the cloud, so in case I lose my phone or break it, I can still keep all of those very valuable documents and photos safe. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the war between web designers and web developers. So web designer is going to ensure that the website looks appealing to users, whereas your developer is going to develop the back-end code. So that would essentially be everything the user actually never sees. So web developers basically work in the background. So web designer focuses on content creation. So they want to make sure everything looks good and is relevant to whatever the website is about, whereas your web developer focuses on functionality and usability. So do your website visitors enjoy being on your site, and does everything work? Web designers focus purely on the user experience, whereas web developers are worried about the interface, so what your user sees. So right now our interface is my presentation. Lastly, color schemes and images and content are within the realm of your web designers, and your web developers are going to use languages such as Java and PHP in order to write code that will make your site run efficiently. The next thing we want to cover is the 4 stages of web design. The first stage being layout, and this is going to include wireframes, graphics, text, and advertisements. Then we have content, and that is going to be where are you going to put the content information on your page, and how are the users going to navigate through your pages. Next is your graphics, and this includes colors, fonts, images, and weighing up your functionality and your content. Last, we have launch. This is when your site has been signed off and you're ready to go live. All your very finicky final testing is done, and now you're just monitoring your site hits. So how many people are actually viewing your site? This is where things get really amazing. So within layout, I mentioned wireframes. So what is a wireframe? It is a basic layout of your website, as you will see here on the right. It ensures the layout is appropriate for your site before you begin working, and it allows you to play with the arrangements of elements to highlight important features. So there's no point in having the most important section of your website on the bottom left. So we try and keep things nicely centered. So this is a brilliant example of the use of a wireframe. What is HTML? Well, to most of you, this has probably been a very scary term until now, but HTML is Hypertext Markup Language. What this does is it allows designers and developers to structure websites in a very user-friendly way. And it allows them to create documents designed to be shown in web browsers. Now, HTML has a very basic outline, as you will see here. So we've got doc type HTML, HTML, head, title, and then we've got body and HTML. Now please don't run away, because I'm going to go through all of this in the live demo. Next, so we've got our HTML, but now everything looks pretty boring, so we need to bring in the what would you call them, superhero's assistant, the sidekick. There we go. So CSS is the sidekick. So what this is going to do is describe how your HTML will appear in your web browser. So this is going to be where your fonts, borders, image formatting, and all of your other customizing elements come into play. And this can also be saved separately from your HTML, but they will still remain linked. The next programming language we're going to learn later on in the course is going to be JavaScript. And unfortunately, at the beginning, it is not as enjoyable as a cup of coffee. JavaScript is a programming language used to add advanced functionality to websites and develop computer programs. JavaScript is a great foundation coding language because if you understand the fundamentals of JavaScripting, you can then carry that through many other languages. And it's a very common language used for client-side interactions. So bye-bye, happy cup of coffee. And there we've got our JavaScript logo. Throughout this course, I'm going to use some softwares, and you can go ahead and decide which one you would like to use. So your options are Notepad++, which is a very basic setup. It is free to download, and it really doesn't take a lot of space on your computer. So if you'd like to start off there, you are more than welcome. For my demos, I will be using Microsoft Expression Web, which is also free software that is very easy to download. If you're having any concerns here, I will be attaching a link in your starter pack to a live demonstration of how I would go about installing these softwares. Seeing as we spoke about JavaScript, I'm going to quickly show you what software you would use there, and that is NetBeans. Okay, and NetBeans is a Java integrated development environment. So don't worry too much about this now, but in case I do mention NetBeans later, I wanted you to know what it is. Now enough talking, I'm going to show all of you how to go about inspecting a web page. So some of you might be wondering, why am I showing you how to inspect a web page? It's quite a nice view into what you guys will have learned by the end of Module 4. And it's also quite a fun way to go and look at your favorite sites and see the kind of different types of code that they're using, and just to get a feel for what we're doing. So the first thing we need to do is then just go on to Shaw Academy's website, and we can go and right click and go inspect. And this terrifying panel will show up. So you can have a look here. And what we're seeing over here is our HTML, and then our CSS is on the side here. So for anyone who missed that, let me just close it over here. So just like any other program, at the top right corner, you're just going to go anywhere on the page, right click and go down to inspect. So now when you see me moving through this, you're going to see different sections are getting highlighted. And all this is doing is saying, hey, this is where you're looking. So up here, we can see that the header here is our menu. So if we go over header, it highlights the menu. And then as we scroll down, we can see that this is our home banner. So by just scrolling through, we're seeing a whole bunch of different sections being highlighted. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go and change this to something a little bit more fun. So what I'm going to do is go into the side panel and just figure out where we think master skills today is going to be. So what I'm thinking is it's going to be in here. And there we go, we can see master real skills today. So in blue writing here, that is what we have called, that is the ID. And you remember earlier I told you about heading 1s, how it makes it bold and it makes it bigger. So master real skills today, and we're going to change that to welcome. I always make the next letter capital. Welcome to the world of web design. There we go, and if I push enter, there we go. So what we can see from this as well is that this has been put in a container. So our container is only as big as that blue section. So because my sentence was very long, it has just almost wrapped the text, as you will see in Excel. And we can see that this is heading 4. So that is smaller than heading 1. So we're going to go and click this little arrow. There we go. And we can change this to something a bit cheeky, like web designers rule, because we do. Once we hit enter, there it goes and updates. And then you see here there's a BR, which is a line break, which I will explain in the demo. But in here, we can change real success, and we can change that to what? Practice makes perfect. There we go. And I want you all to know I make mistakes, I'm sure you've noticed. So please don't ever be hard on yourselves. It just takes a bit of practice. And then let's see, the last thing we have to do is change the big red button, because it's a big red button. So if we hover here, there we go. We see this little arrow. Let's put that down. And we see over here, you don't need to understand the rest of this for now, but we can go to start learning. And let's change that to let's get going. And enter again, and you see how it auto resized the words so that it would fit. Okay, so that was a bit of fun. You guys are welcome to go and try this. I promise the guys from Google aren't going to arrive in black vans and try and take you away for changing a site. I will show you again here that if you just refresh, voila, everything goes back to normal. No one knows a thing. So this is quite a fun way if you want to show someone you're working in web design now or learning web design, you can go and customize a web page. Well, that's enough of inspecting other people's websites. Let's go and build our own. Well, it's time for your first edition of Let's Talk Tags. This is going to be present in just about every lesson within this course, and I get excited about it. It's fun to learn new tags. So we've got our little wheel of fortune. So what is an HTML tag? So a tag allows the designer to customize the website using different tags. Now your tags fall between braces, as you will see on the right. Remember that all tags have an opening and a closing tag. So how I remember this might be a bit silly, but every Tupperware has a lid. So I want to quickly just show you some of the most important tags, as I promised you earlier I would. You've got doc type, and this is going to define the type of document you are using. So is it an HTML5? But all of that we will be covering in more detail later. You've then got body, which is going to contain a large majority of your site's information, similarly to how you would set out an essay. So you would have your title and your body. Then we've got this little fun section. So this is a comment. And within lesson 2, we're going to talk a lot more about commenting, but this is basically when you want to include information that you do not want to show on your site, so little messages to yourself to remind you to do things. Then we've got head, which is going to contain your document details, and then title, which is what shows in the tab on top of your web browser. So if you're currently on Show Academy site, which I hope you are, you will see at the top that it says Show Academy Master Real Skills Today. Then we've got H1, which formats text and uses bold and increased font to make it stand out from other text on your page. And last we have P, which stands for paragraph, which is just going to be very plain text on your site, which you can then use later on in partnership with CSS to make it look a bit more fun and exciting. I'd quickly like to cover some FAQs. If you don't know what that is, that's frequently asked questions, and these are the most common ones I get. So first off is HTML case sensitive? No, it's not, but lowercase is going to be the more commonly used standard. I've also had people ask me which web browser they should be using. I personally think Google Chrome is the best, but I don't really mind what you choose. Just please don't choose Internet Explorer, because a lot of the functionality we will be covering does not work there. And lastly, will my Notepad HTML be live on the internet straight away? No, you will need to host your website on a web server first, and we will be covering that in later modules. Okay, it's time to have some fun. We are going to now go and create a basic website. So as soon as we open Expression Web, we have got this default generated code ready for us, which is fantastic. And the first thing we want to do is just make sure that everything is tidy, because when you've got a website with thousands of lines of code, it is very easy to forget where your code is. So how we're going to do this is just select there at line 4 and just push tab. So we're just going to push tab once, and then title sits within the head section, so we push it twice, and then we always just make sure that our opening tag and our closing tag match in the indentation. Then body we can also do twice, and there we go. HTML, you never have to move. You always want to, everything belongs within the Tupperware that is HTML. Title lives within head, and body is where the rest of our content will go. So we started off with an auto-generated HTML document. If you wanted to create one yourself, you would simply go here to this little white piece of paper, and then you can just select HTML, and then you've got this. Looks quite messy. I will tell you all about this in the next lesson, but we don't need that for now. We want to go ahead and save this one. So we're going to go to the little floppy disk, And I'm just going to go to my hello world. And then we can call this hello world. Or just hello. Let's just make it hello. And that is a web page. So we can even say it's an HTML file. And we can push save. And there we go. We now see it as hello HTML. So if anyone who missed that, you went to where you can go here, file, save as. I went into the folder hello world, and then I just selected HTML file over here. Okay, so now we've got our nice saved file. Let's bring up our web browser. So how we're going to do that using Expression Web is just going to this magnifying glass, and I'm going to choose Chrome. At this point, we've got nothing on our web page. Let me just close Shaw Academy's one. So we just went to the magnifying glass, went down to Chrome, and selected that. So the first thing we will notice is that it says Untitled 1 up here, which is so unprofessional. So the first thing we must do is change that. So let's go with in title, because remember, whatever is between title will show up here. So we can go ahead and just say hello world here. This is tech tradition, by the way. Your first site or first program should always be a hello world program to greet everyone else. So let's go and save this. And you can either do this where you save again each time and then push view, and then we have, but you see what, I'm going to show you what happens because this kills me. If you do this every time, you just start getting really, really crowded up here. So let me just quickly close these because I'm a neat freak. There we go. And we can just refresh rather, or reload your page. Okay. So now you know how to go and change your tabs. Alrighty. So what else have we done? Let's go ahead and say again. Oh, actually we can change it up. So let's go within body. Now heading 1 lives within body, so we're going to go H1 hello world. No one really reads the top, so you're just going to keep saying hello. Okay, you must still save before you refresh. So now we've got hello world, and let's tell them something about us. So we can go ahead and make a slightly smaller version of heading 1, so we can go H2. So it'll be smaller font and yeah, not as wow as heading 1. And let's just say I am an aspiring web designer. Okay, so let's just show you. See, nothing's going to happen there, but as soon as we save, there we go. And then we can go and do one more just to prove my point about the indentation. And we can do P, which is paragraph, which is going to be rather plain text. So let's tell more about us. So I would like to run my own site. And let's save that. So hello world, I'm an aspiring web designer. I would like to run my own site. So that's very basic, but trust me, if we drove into a big website right now, you'd all run away. Okay, so that's very nice and basic. What we're going to do next is start introducing some CSS. Now that we have our basic website, I'm going to show you how you can go about including an image in there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is insert our image. So we're going to do that within our body because we want this image to show up here. How we're going to go about doing that is let's just go and push enter, and then we can just put in P over here because we want it to be in similar to a container. So we're just going to go in here and then go up to insert, picture, and then from file. So for anyone who missed that, we're going to select in here, go to insert, picture, from file. And then let's go to my desktop, to hello world. And we've got this cute little robot. So let's insert him here. Okay, so now we've been prompted to enter alternate text. So basically, alternate text is if the image fails to load, if someone's got slow internet, or one of the million things that could possibly go wrong, this is what will show up instead of just that little picture box. So we can just say that it's a cute robot, because he is cute. So just cute robot, and then go OK. So that's a nice bit of auto-generated code for us. Let's save this and see what happens. Where is he? Okay, so that is a very big robot. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to use CSS to make him a much smaller size so that he actually fits on our website. So the first thing we want to do is just go up here again. So where we had selected HTML earlier, we're just going to go and select CSS now. So the same place, but just down to CSS. And then we see here we've just been called Untitled 1. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and save it. And then that's within our Hello World folder. And let's just say Hello World, and then we can just make sure this is a CSS file. There we go. So save that. So as you can see, we've now got hello.html and hello world.css. So we can easily tell the difference between the two. What you'll start noticing is that when we edit something, we use its tag name. So we're wanting to adjust image. So we're going to go into our CSS and go img, and then put some brackets in there, curly brackets. By doing this, we're now saying whatever I put in here is what I want to change about image. So we can agree that the image is far too big. So let's go ahead and say width. So the width is 25%. Now why I'm saying percent rather than centimeters or any other measure is because this will take the dimension of whatever screen it's on. So if you're looking at it on your desktop, it'll be 25% of the desktop screen or the web page's screen. And then if you on a cell phone, for example, it will then auto resize for the screen size of your cell phone. Okay, so we've now made that 25%, but he is still humongous. And I know why this is, because I've been blonde. So, when you want to connect two things, you generally have to actually connect them. So, what we need to do is say to HTML, hey, you need to listen to CSS about how everything's going to look. So, what we're going to do here is just go into the above HTML, and into head. So we're going to go here and we're going to type in link. So we want to create a link and the relationship, so rel. So before we can link our HTML to our CSS, we need to actually link them. So what we're going to do is start a new little section here, a new tag, and say link rel, which is relationship. And we're wanting to link it to a style sheet. So you can think of your CSS as a style sheet because you're styling everything. Then the type of style sheet we're using is going to be a text/CSS. And then our href is going to be hello. Oopsie. It's going to be hello world.css. And we're going to close that off. And once we select save, we will get this pop-up saying, are you sure you want to connect to hello world.css? And we're going to say OK. Now that we've created our CSS document and linked it to our HTML, we can go about looking at our image. So currently we've got a huge Mr. Robot in here, and we just want to make him a bit more size appropriate. So we've got our image, and now we want to say width, and your new nemesis, which is colons versus semicolons. So when you are stating what you would like to do to an element, so width, you need it to be a colon, and then at the end of every line of CSS you have to have a semicolon. So we're going to set this width to 25%. So what this does is just eliminates problems when you're moving from a desktop screen to a mobile site, for example. And there we go. So now we've got our very first website with our little Mr. Robot, just to make things a little bit cooler. So well done if you followed along. Let's go and just review a few of the elements from this website to make sure that you all understand. Okay, so some of you may be intimidated by some of the links that we used, but I'm quickly just going to explain some of the key concepts to you again. So within the image link, we've got img alt, and this is the alternate name for the image that will show if your image does not display. Then we have src, and that explains where the image can be found on your website or your personal computer. The other link that might be causing you a bit of stress is the HTML to CSS link, and within this all you really need to know for now is that link creates a connection between HTML documents and external documents such as CSS, and the rel states the relationship between your documents. Okay, it's time to start wrapping things up in today's lesson, so we're going to talk about what's coming up in the next lesson. So here's your little sneak peek into lesson 2, and during lesson 2 we're going to be creating a basic web page for the gaming den, which is just a little site that I've made up. And in this site we're going to learn how to create a table, how to change font families, which is your text, so you can make it Calibri or Lato, whatever you want, how to insert footers and make sure that they stay at the bottom of your page. A footer would be similar to my banner at the bottom that says Show Academy in it. And then you've got background images as well. And guys, there's so much more. I don't want to spend all my time now talking about it, but please join in. And this is the site we are going to build. I had a little bit of fun with it, made it a bit Sonic, if any of you played Sonic. And we are going to then build on this as well in lesson 3. But I'll save that as a surprise for later. So just a quick summary of what we've learned today. We've learned that HTML is Hypertext Markup Language, and that this structures the content of websites. Then we've got CSS, and CSS is our Cascading Style Sheets, and these make the site more appealing by introducing colors and fonts. And then we've got the cloud, which describes a global network of servers, each with their very own unique function. And lastly, the global internet consists of tens of thousands of interconnected networks run by service providers, individual companies, and universities, as well as governments. Now it's time for your lesson challenge, and what I'd like for you to do today is just post on any of our social media platforms the most interesting fact that you learned during this lesson. You can post this on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/shawacademy. And guys, please do this. It'll be fun. You can customize all the sites that you see me do and make them your own. It's quite a nice opportunity to practice as well. So finally, just a huge congratulations on completing lesson 1. You've taken that vital first step on the road to getting your diploma. And please, everyone, feel free to send us any feedback and suggestions that you may have, and have gone ahead and supplied the email for support@shawacademy.com. Well done on completing the lesson. Remember, with every lesson we build you closer to your goals, so don't drop out and let's achieve these goals. And finally, I'd just like to update you on your progress throughout our lessons. You've now just completed lesson 1, and the next time we have a lesson, you will be moving on to lesson 2. So this is all amazing. I'm very proud of all of you, and I can't wait to do our next lesson. Bye everyone.